Okay, I think should be all right. Let me go on to the PowerPoint. I think everything is all right. There are too many gadgets, and I am a very representative, absent-minded professor. On Sunday, for half an hour, I didn't switch on any of the audio. That way we lost. Otherwise, the streaming was very good on Sunday. I realized it much later. So, I hope things are okay now. Let me see whether it is on. Yes. Okay. Okay, we will start. Delay of 5-6 minutes, but I think it's all right. Okay, so far we have seen 14 chapters. Today we will see chapter 15, which is Purushottama Yoga. As I have been saying, the third triplet is a very heavy subject because we are really going to the pinnacle of some of the deep philosophical truths. So we saw the Kshetra Kshetrajna and the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. And in the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the ultimate conclusion that Sri Krishna came to is it's not about just having more of sattva. That may be stage 1. Stage 2 is to transcend even the 3 gunas. Transcend in the sense gunas will exist because it's part of Prakriti. So if we have a body, it will have the gunas along with that. Can we be independent of it? In the sense, the tricks of the gunas, does it affect a person in terms of his behavior? That's the kind of a conclusion he gave in the end of the chapter 14. Now, chapter 15 introduces something interesting. So far we have seen ideas like Purusha and Prakriti, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. All these we saw. In this chapter we will introduce one more terminology, which is the samsara. We have seen it in a different way, but in this chapter we will add this terminology called the samsara. And what is the samsara and all that? These are all little deeper ideas, but I think they make a lot of sense, if we can contemplate it more seriously and so on. Actually, in Taittiriya Upanishad, now all Upanishads are there, but since I know Taittiriya Upanishad a little bit by heart, I can just like that quote. There are a couple of mantras. It says, Prajapatiscarati garbe antah ajayamano bahuda vijayate. This Prajapati, the Lord of the Prajas, in other words, the Lord of the creation. Prajapatihi charati, Prajapatis charati ante garbha. So the life that gets, the fetus gets the life only when Prajapati enters into it. That is, that God particle gets in, only then this fetus starts ticking. So Prajapatis charati garbe antaha. Then he says, Ajayamano bahuda vijayate. That principle which was ajaya, which was not constraining itself to the birth. Jaya is janma. So ajaya is no janma. In other words, birthless. So ajayamano, one who was in a state of birthlessness, bahuda vijayate. It started multiplying and manifesting into many forms. So these kinds of references are there. So this chapter actually connects these references. What is this God particle doing, getting into a fetus of a living creature? It need not be just Manushya. It can be a plant kingdom, it can be an animal kingdom, whatever it is. What does it do after it gets into this, and the term that we use are Jivatma. There is a term called Prajna. if you look at Mandukya Upanishad, there are some special terms are there. Different terms are there. But the point is that God particle gets in and then enlivens. So how does it play out and what is all this? This chapter actually introduces those ideas to us. So basically this one God particle, which is ajayamano bahuda vijayate, it really said, let me get into many forms and shapes, multiplied into it, entered into it. That's what this Taittiriya Upanishad is saying. And we use Purusha and Prakriti in chapter 13, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, to explain this process. So chapter 13 only laid out that this is how the God particle came in. There is a concept called Purusha, there is a concept called Prakriti, both of them came in and all that. Now what is it doing? And how does it play out? So that is coming in this chapter. After coming in, what happens? And how does it engage, and what's really happening and so on. Actually, there is a nice sloka in chapter 8. It says, Abrahma bonan lokaha punaravartinorjana. Punaha avartinaha Arjuna. He says from Brahma onwards, every creature which has a sense of life, Brahma also has 100 years. 100 years may be some 10 power 17 human years. But Brahma also has only a finite life, 100 years. So that's why he says, Abrahma bonan lokaha, bonaha lokaha. Starting from Brahma, this entire lokas, in fact including the universe, all of them are punaravartino. They follow this grand rule, they have to come and go. So that is what he said in chapter 8. So why are they coming and going, and what are these issues in between? This is a question which we will all have to really think about at some point in time. So the question that we have perhaps is, what is this game, these multiple entities that the God chose to play? So this God says, no, I will split into many things, and each one of us are a representative of the God particle. What is the game that is being played? Correct? And how does this game sustain? In fact, what are the rules of the game? And if I have to use a management parlance, the question is there a game changer also? See, these are the questions. Something is happening. There is a birth, there is a death, there is a janma, birth, death, janma. All these are happening. So what is this game, and who is playing this game? That is a question which I think will be a natural question. So why did God choose to multiply like this? And why this janma again and again, janma? These kinds of questions are there. So this chapter actually starts with that question and gives some ideas for that. I just want to take a small, little example. See, I have generally heard about horse racing. I have not gone and done horse racing. I have heard about casinos in which games can be played. So once I went, I was in Las Vegas in USA. City is known for. So I went with my family, and then first thing I found was that stay and eating are the cheapest in Las Vegas because they want you to be inside. This is the logic anyway. So I went and I spent about 8 hours. I didn't play. Probably one of the fools who didn't play, but I went around and saw what was happening in the casinos. Very active, lots of people in, you have it in Macau, in Hong Kong also, and so on. What I found, and at the end of the day, if you ask me, can you put it in some broad framework of what did you see? First thing I found, in fact I found everything that happened there parallel to chapter 15. And I find life is a casino game. Because many of the things I found is what we are playing actually. This is the sense I am getting, and to just describe it, we engage in this world. Who said we are not engaged in the world? We are engaged in this world. We are in the thick of this world. We engage into activities. We have a profession, we have a family, we have a social life. You name any dimensions, we are there. So we all engage in this world. right? And if we can become worldly, the word quote unquote worldly we have to understand. We can be very worldly actually. Very worldly means things in the world must entice us. Things, we first of all we should start with this Brahma Satya, that what exists is world and world alone. Nothing more. What exists in front of me and here is the last word on truth. What I cannot see is not there. You have to start with that assumption. Only then you can be worldly. If that assumption is not very strong, you will never be worldly. You will be 80% worldly or 60% worldly. If you have to be worldly, you have to believe what you see in front of you, what is put in front of you is all. And we have to make the best sense out of it. And that's context for playing the game called life. This is called being worldly. If you start with that assumption, that's what I see in the casinos. First they understand this is my world. There's nothing outside of this. You have to get attached to it. So the first investment we have to make is we should be very attached to the concept. In other words, we should be very attached to the concept of life and this world. Very strongly. Everything is only this world and we must get attached to it. That is the first thing that must happen. Then once we get really attached to it, then one can develop a wish list. We can have desires, because we know the framework now. So we have to work around this framework. So we can develop more desires, we can have more wish lists and all that. Therefore we will put more efforts, which is only logical. Because there is a wish list, there is a desire, so it's only natural we put efforts on that. So we begin to invest. It is an investment. We invest, see, get into the casino, you go with that first set of little money that you have. That's your investment. So you invest. You invest your precious time, efforts and resources on this game. In other words, on matters in this world. So that's how we have to start this game and we have to play this game. From childhood we have been very well trained on that. So it's not a game which is difficult for us. We have learnt, our parents, everybody have taught this game so well for us. So I am not saying something which is difficult. We are more or less used to this way of playing the game. Now what happens is, as we start playing the game, the results start coming. As it happened in the casino. First round I won, or maybe I lost. Something happened. So as we play in this world, this game of this world, life, the game called life in this world, we invest our precious time and efforts. Correct? Sometimes we get positive outcomes. Whatever is our definition of positive, all that, let it be there. Once we have positive outcomes, a general tendency, and it appears a very sensible tendency, is to reinvest that and then grow this game. That's a reasonable, logical tendency. When things are going well, when things are all positive, you reinvest. So that we do. When things go bad, you invest. Why? Now you want to invest because you want to recoup the losses. So the moral of the story is we get invested into the game. Think about it. That's how finally it happens. If it is successful, we reinvest. That's what happens in a casino. That's the charm of this casino. When you are successful, you will definitely reinvest. When you are failure, 4 times certain you will invest. Because you have to recoup the losses. So our life game is exactly like that. There are successes on certain, whatever definitions of our success, we invest in a big way. Which means we get more attached in life and we think that's the thing to do, and then we keep doing it. We get failure, we will not leave it. We will again get into it and do more and more of that. This is how a casino game I find. And this is exactly the game of life is also. Now the question is, so what? So in a way, this is what nourishes this Jivatma to keep going, playing the game. Now the only thing that we will see in this chapter is what are these rules of the game and what do we actually want to do, because the defining framework for all that I described in life, the way we have taken certain positions about life, what we should do and so on, the defining framework for all of that, if you read any Vedantic text, the word that is closest to describe this defining framework is called avidya. It's not vidya, it's called avidya. That's the defining framework for this game that we are playing. That's why in Ishavasya Upanishad it says, avidyaya mrityum tirtva, vidyaya amrutam ashnute. So with avidya you will never get liberated. You can manage this circle of birth and death in one level. That liberation has nothing to do with avidya. So this game if you play, you will keep playing. You can endlessly play this game. If you say my interest is to say I am tired of this game, is there something else? Then you are asking for a game changer now. That game changer rules are different. So in this chapter, the first 10 slokas or first 6-7 slokas are describing what is this game and where does this game take us. That's what it is. So Panchadashodhyayah Purushottama Yoga. So this is chapter is called Purushottama Yoga because there the description of Purushottama is there. So it has 20 shlokas. Like chapter 12, this is also a very short, sweet chapter actually. There are 20 shlokas. The first 5 shlokas talks about this game that we play. Right? What I described now, that is being described in the first 5 shlokas. And shloka 6 to 11 talks about these Jiva Ishvara linkages. How, the God particle came and it chose to give the freedom of choice and decided to just go along. Just stay with, and then it only enabled. If you remember in chapter 13, I made this observation 2-3 times. Prakriti has no samarthya. An engine cannot run from Madras to Bangalore. It cannot run. It has a desire to run. It is only the diesel which will make it run. The engine cannot run by itself. Engine has all the things so that if somebody puts the right thing, it will start running. To that extent, engine is a Jada Shakti. It is not a Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti is in that, hydrocarbon that you get through the diesel. Is it not? In the same way, the Prakriti is Jada. That's why when the prana goes, this body really becomes Jada. Prakriti is Jada. It has all the desire, but it has no capability. See, if you have to succeed in doing something, you need desire and capability. If you have capability and no desire, job will not be done. If you have desire, no capability, job will not be done. Both are required. Both are necessary and sufficient condition. You need the prerana and you need the samarthya. So here he gives, so I said in chapter 13, Purusha gives the samarthya and Prakriti gives the prerana. But then here he says, how do I really, supply that samarthya, and with that what do you do? Those are the things which are being described in Shloka 6-11. It pervades also. Shloka 14 is a famous Shloka. He says, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita. That is a nice Shloka. There also he says, what is your digestive fire? He says, I am sitting there. It's called Vaishwanara. That's why a dead body will have no temperature. 98.4 will go. That 98.4 is Vaishwanara actually. As long as people live, you have to have 98.4 degree Fahrenheit. What is that? That is Vaishwanara. That is the one which is the Jataragni also. All that he is saying. So all those descriptions are there. How it manifests in the Jagat. Through this body and all that, how it manifests. All those are in the middle part of it. And the chapter ends with these 4 shlokas where he says, although I am into you, I am actually much larger principle. Try to understand and focus on it. So those kinds of ideas are there. So there are three major ideas in this chapter. I thought up front I will put those ideas. The first thing is, it's all about Samsaara Vruksha and the need to, uproot it. In fact, Asanga Shastrena Suviruda Moolam Ashanga Shastrena Dridena Chitva. That's the third shloka we will see. So first 3 shlokas are a very powerful metaphor to explain this casino game that we are playing in life. That's what he talks about. It is Ashanga Shastra. Sanga is attachment. Ashanga is no attachment. He says axle that you have should be that. We will see that. So that's the first message. The second most interesting, appealing message to me is we are so much bothered about what and how. We are never bothered about who. It will really, these shlokas, this chapter, if you contemplate it a little carefully and seriously, you will begin to turn your attention into an important question called who. That's why, I've been hearing, some of the lectures. What really, impressed me is one lecture in which the Pravachaka was telling, if only, I have made this comment also a few times, if only Sir Isaac Newton, when the apple fell, Isaac Newton was asking why and what is happening here. That was the question he asked. So therefore he found the force of gravity. So this person was saying, if only Isaac Newton chose to ask who fell this apple. It's not a bad question. Actually, it is an equally important question. In other words, the question is, why did the apple fell at 11:45, 32 seconds? That is the who part of it. Why did it fall at 1 o'clock or morning 7 o'clock? Suddenly one branch of the thing, this long, this thing of a coconut tree falls at 7:30. Why can't it fall at 7:15? So you can explain why it falls and how it falls. You are not explaining who is filling it. It's not a bad question. Actually, we have to think about this question very seriously. That middle part, when we come, we will see that. It's actually a very interesting question to ask. It forces us to ask that question. It's high time we start asking this question. We will become very reflective. We will see that little bit. And there is this third message towards the end of the chapter, which talks about the three stages of ultimate reality. Kshara Purusha to Akshara Purusha to Purushottama. That's what the chapter ends with. These are some of the shlokas. So we will see as we go along. The first thing is Samsaara Vruksha. And the first three shlokas, there is a very good description of Samsara Vruksha. That's the most interesting part of it. Let's see that. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhva Moolam Atashakam Ashwattam Prahuhu Avyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Saveda Vita. So first of all, he describes a tree, and this is a very strange tree. This is a very strange tree because the roots, Urdhva Moolam, the beginning of the tree, it's an inward tree. The Moolam is not Adaha. The Moolam is Urdha. Urdha is up, Adaha is down. They are the pair of opposites. So he says Urdhva Moolam. So this is a tree for which the roots are on the top. It's like a hanging tree. The roots are on the top. Other shaka, the branches are going down. This is exactly how a computer tree is. The directory is at the top and then the trees are growing like this. Modern computer scientists got a Urdhva Moolam Adha Shaka. Exactly that structure. Because the root is always here, na? Your D colon is here, then it starts coming down and so on. So that's exactly what he's saying. The shakas are going down. The root is on the top. So it's an inverted tree. Okay? Ashwattam Prahuhu Avyayam. You can call it as an Ashwatha tree. Okay? And now a tree, please understand, if there is a tree, you pluck all the leaves of the tree will die. Simply. There are ways to kill the trees. One is you can pluck all the leaves, it will die. Or you cut the bark at the bottom, it will die. It will immediately dry and die. So this tree, for it to be protected, to nourish and grow, the leaves are chandas. Chandas is Vedas. Now when I'll come to all that a little later. Chandamsi Yasya Parnani, all the leaves for the so-called tree which is growing from the top, spreading so nicely down, the leaves are the Vedas. And a person who knows that, he indeed has known the truth. That is how the shloka is. Now this is a very heavily loaded shloka. First let us take Ashwatha. Ashwatha Vruksha. See, this Ashwatha Vruksha belongs to the same family of the banyan tree, where actually as the tree grows, it only will get strengthened because it will drop all the roots from the top. The roots will go and firm up in the earth. It gets stronger. That's why these trees are all 2,000, 3,000 years also they live. So Ashwatha, first of all, by choosing the word Ashwatha Vruksha, he is only telling us that here is a tree, our samsara, it's a samsara vruksha actually. He is saying your samsara vruksha can endlessly grow. Because this is the only category of trees which are longevity which is very long. The banyan tree, these are all belonging botanically to the same group. So by choosing the Ashwatha Vriksha, the first message that he is giving is this can be an ongoing activity forever. Being in the samsara, it is possible, we can keep on doing things and keep on doing the branches. I mean, I went and saw, the other day I was mentioning it in another lecture which I was giving. I went to Sri Lanka in 2001 and I went to Anuradhapura, where they have planted that first Ashwatha Vriksha which Ashoka gave while he gave his daughter in marriage to the king of Sri Lanka. They have put that tree. They claim that tree is still there. I went and saw that place. It's a sprawling acre complex. Everywhere when they have made sure the tree will never die because they are completely covered it with silver, and I mean the whole place is a massive place. They say it is 2600 years old. And just outside in Mysore ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಆಲಮರ ಒಂದಿದೆ ಕುಂಬಳಗಡೆ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ. It's about, I don't know what is the age of that, I have no idea, but at least the botanical gardens Calcutta is 720 years or something. So by choosing this Ashwatha Vriksha, this is just a representation for Samsara Vruksha. The first message is it can be an endless thing. It can go on and on and on. So the word Ashwatha actually has a meaning. I have put it in blue color. In fact, Shwaha means tomorrow in Sanskrit. Na Shwaha api stata. I don't know whether we'll be living tomorrow. We don't even know. So Ashwatha is one for which there is no guarantee of tomorrow. That's another meaning to Ashwatha. Na Shwaha api stata iti Ashwatha. That's Shankara Bhashya actually. Because Shwaha means in Sanskrit tomorrow. Hyaha means yesterday. Parashwaha is day after tomorrow. Parakhyaha is day before yesterday. So na Shwapi stata. But our life is like that. We do not know. So this mortal body may go, but the vriksha will not go. The seed will remain. The seed will again germinate. The tree might go. The tree would have shed the seeds and the seeds are there. So that's another understanding of it. That's why the word Ashwatha, it talks about a very sprawling activity which can have a very long longevity in a very relative sense. So that is being implied. Ashwatha also means, this tree in a tree form has no future. But if you put one Ashwatha tree, you can never take Ashwatha tree from this world. Because, there is a progeny. It seeds and so Vyakta, Avyakta, Vyakta, Avyakta. The seed is only an Avyakta form of a Vyakta form called a tree. And the tree is nothing but a future of Avyakta because it is going to shed thousands of seeds. There is no end to this story. That is the samsara. So that is what is being told. Chandamsi yasya parnani. See here Chandas means Vedas. Now we have to be very careful in interpreting this word because Veda has two major components. Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda. All the Aranyakas and Brahmanas are Karma Kanda, which are all about rituals, which are all about doing things so that we get material prosperity and Sukha and Swarga. Iha Amutra Pala. Benefits here, benefits after the soul leaves this place and in its sojourn it parks itself in a holiday resort for some time. So how comfortable their holiday resort and how long you have the timeshare there. All those can be worked for it. That part is called Karma Kanda. Whereas the Upanishad that I have been quoting, all these Upanishads are all part of Jnana Kanda. The Vedanta are all part of Jnana Kanda. When the word Chanda is used here, the clear reference here is only the Karma Kanda. Where Karma Kanda will grow the samsara. Jnana Kanda will kill the samsara. So it is not, we can't take wholesome meaning like that. When you say Chandamsi, the meaning is, it is just the Purvabhaga, which is the Karma Kanda. Because Karma Kanda is there to get benefits, material benefits and rewards and so on. It is only referring to that. Because that's the way you can, this is like a manure for this tree to grow. So that is what is being implied in this shloka. And third thing, why is it, there is also this figurative meaning why it is up, from up to down. Simply because we all come from up only. The direction up means the ultimate source. It's like saying, where did the first tea plant come? I have no idea. Where did the first coffee plant come in this world, I don't know how you will find out. It's impossible to find out. That's why they say don't look at the Rishi Mula and Nadi Mula. I mean, it's impossible to find the source, because finally if we keep on going and going and going like that, the source is on the top. So figuratively it is actually saying you are coming from there. That's why the root is there. Literally our roots are there. That meaning is also there. So it is not just only a figurative description. Conceptually it is true. I don't know who is my great-grandfather. I mean, I have 20 generations of my ancestors. After that, I have a family tree at home. My wife's generation 20 I have. My generation 13 generation I have a family tree. My question is, if you go 100 generations before, where will you go? If you go 1,000 generations before, where will it's like finding out the first coffee plant or the first banyan tree in the world. They all came from there. So how do you describe it? That's why the roots are there. The roots are there, it is growing down. So it has that kind of an understanding also. Actually, Vruksha, that's another. Vruksha, I have a little bit mentioned that. Vruksha actually means that which can be cut. That's another meaning. It comes from, I was actually trying to, there are two dhatus. I spent a little time, I couldn't find out whether there is one Vrisha dhatu, there is a Vrishu dhatu. From where it came, I could not find out. I spent some time, but I know it comes from one of these two. So Vriksha also, one meaning of Vriksha is tree. Another meaning of Vriksha is to cut. In other words, means it is saying, by saying Ashwatha Vriksha, it is also indicating this Vriksha has to be taken out eventually. That is the larger goal, larger principle of life. That's also indicated through the choice of the word Vriksha. If you really understand it that way, at one level it is called a tree. At another level, another meaning of Vriksha is to cut or to remove, take it out, something like that. Anyway, so now the second shloka says, how does this tree grow? It's so fertile. How does this tree really grows? That is being explained in the second shloka. It says, adascha urdvam prasutaha tasya shakaha gunapravruddha vishayapravalaha adascha moolan anusantatani karmanubandhini manushya-loke. First of all, he says, this tree, what it does is, adascha urdvam. It grows both sides. Although the roots are here, it grows either ways. It grows there, which means the roots are also strengthened. That's the meaning. It is branching. See, that is how a plant is, no? A tree. The more you see the offshoot of the tree, the more roots are also there. That's the meaning. Kind of mirror image only. In fact, I went to, in Chicago, near Sears Towers, there is a nice museum in which the museum just shows only what we have normally not seen. It is not showing the upper part of the tree. The whole museum is the lower part of the tree. It's magnified to some 1,000 times. Very interesting. I spent about 3-4 hours, went through the museum in Chicago when I went. So I realized all that you see on the other side, there is a replica on the bottom side, which we are not aware because we are not digging the earth and seeing. So that is what it is saying. This tree grows both on this side and this side. Between the above and the below, it is all spreading. Right? Asya shakaha. And how are they spreading? Guna pravruddhaha. They are actually, the nourishment is the guna. And now it's easy for us to understand why. Because the entire chapter 14 and that one shloka in chapter 13, which said, Karanam guna sangasya sat asad janmasu yonihi janmasu. He said, Prakristista Purushaha Prakrististaha Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Gunan. There's a 23rd shloka. He says the Purusha decided that gum I have been talking. That gum is what is making this whole thing working. No, that gum is guna. That's why he says the manure for this tree is guna. You put the manure more, so if your guna is very active, this tree will grow very well. Which means you get more attached, you throw all your pluses and minuses in life, and then so you have to recoup, you have to reinvest, all these will come because your guna is active. That's why in chapter 14 he said, the final stage is you should be able to step out of the gunas. That's what he was talking about in chapter 14. So we can connect all of that here. That's why he says, Guna pravruddha vishaya pravalaha. See, if you see a tree, you should actually see how the tree grows. First, one shoot and all that comes. Then there is one bud, then one branch comes like this. Out of that is one small bud, it comes. So the real growth comes through the buds actually. The buds are the expressions of more and more branches opening. So he says the Vishayas are the buds. In other words, the worldly thing, the more and more you get invested into it, the more and more you get stuck into it, this tree has to grow because you have now the pluses and minuses to be sorted out. The casino game which I was talking about. That's why he says Vishaya Pravalaha and Adascha Moolan Anusantatani. So in this human world, because Urdhvam is actually the other side. So in this world, it is establishing its own roots also. That's what happens in Ashwatha. Na? What happens in banyan tree and Ashwatha Vruksha? It starts growing, roots start coming from there and get anchored. Solid anchoring. That's why you can't do anything about those trees. Same thing he is saying. And what are these new roots coming? These new roots, and how are you strengthening it? Through karma. That is this additional enforcement and strengthening that you have to give to this samsara vruksha. Karma. It says karmanubandhani manushya loke. So in this world, so look at the tree exactly, you can explain, understand all of them from a tree. Ashwatha Vruksha has roots here. It starts growing. Buds are coming, you put manure, it starts growing and growing. Now what it says is, let me strengthen this. Come what may, I should not die. What it starts shedding the roots from the top. Banyan tree and Ashwatha are like that. The roots start coming from there. And then they get anchored on the ground. So now you just do it 180 degree and then understand it. This shloka is saying the same thing. The roots are on the top. It starts growing. After it starts growing, there are some roots from here, it goes and then strengthens it. And that roots are the karma. That's the one which is strengthening it. So we engage in the thick of activities for some pluses and minuses. We invest, we reinvest, we recoup for losses. All that we keep doing. That is what is making all these happening, is what this shloka is actually saying. So it is exactly a one-to-one description of a tree to a samsara vruksha. This Ashwatha Vruksha is the samsara vruksha. That's what he is saying. Yeah. Now, the point is, how do we, so this seems to be, how do we get out of this stream? Because this is an endless coming into the world, one janma, then go out. Again come into the world, one janma, and then go out. How long we want to do it? And what is the game changer now? Because this game we may play for a while. We can't play forever. We may play for a while. After that it will get boring. If we have not got bored, we will get bored. Looks like we are all reasonably bored. That's why we are all spending time trying to read this text and all that. We have found already law of diminishing returns have started already. We are plateauing on this futility of this game. That's why we are here actually. Now, the model, what is the new game or what is the game changer? The game changer is to understand and develop a high sense of viveka or vichara. That the fundamental thing is to understand there is something called Anatman and there is something called Atman. Fundamentally anything that you handle, we will have to understand it either belongs to Atma or Anatma. That's why Tamaprakasavat, I use the Chatussutri shloka again and again. Tamaprakasavat viruddha sobhavayoho. This truth and non-truth can never coexist. Day and lightness, light and darkness cannot coexist. It's the same idea. So Atman cannot coexist with Anatman. They are two completely non-separate entities. So the game changer is to understand the Atman rather than the Anatman. So what are the Anatman? There are 12 principles I have put here, which all are the paradigms which can define an Anatman. If anything fits into it, that's called Anatman. Which means it is trying to pursue it with all our seriousness, with all our effort, is actually growing the samsara vruksha and getting into avidya. That is the highest principle finally. So what are those 12 principles? First of all, an Anatman will be grass, Atman will not be grass. Atman is sukshma. It cannot be grass. So anything that is grass is simple. Anything that is grass is subjected to the 6 laws of asti, jayate, vardayate, parinayate, sirshyate, mriyate. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. That model will fit only to materialist, anything which is mattered. For demattered items you don't have. Anatman is demat. Atman is demat. Anatman is not demat. It is grass. So it will be subjected to all kinds of variations and decay and death and so on. And it is what is possessed. It is not the possessor. It is the possessed. There's a difference between a possessor and a possessed. There's a difference between a subject and an object. An Anatman is always object, not the subject. An Atman is a subject. An Anatman is something which is held on the subject. So that's an object. So that's why it is possessed. Person, body, gadgets, phone, everything are all possessed. They are not the possessor. It's deha, not dehi. Dehi, deha brith. That is a word you will find in Bhagavad Gita, and 2 times it will come. Chapter 2 and chapter 9 or somewhere, 2 places it will come. It is an aggregate made up of parts. Anything that is made up of parts is Anatman. Because Atma cannot be, see, moment you make of parts, what does it mean? You have constrained it to some name and shape and limitation. Atman is not limited. Atman is not constrained. Atman is, you cannot attach color to Atman. Atman is colorless, attributeless, limitless, aparichinna, deshakala aparichinna. That's what in Lalita Sahasranama says, deshakala aparichinnaye namaha. So it is not limited by space, not limited by time. These are the 2 major limitations. If you bring the limitation of time and space, you have brought Anatman. If you escape the limitation of time and space, you are treading the domain of Atman. In deep sleep, we become deshakala parichinnaha. That's why 6 hours sleep looks like 5 minutes for us. Because time is gone. We are not limited by time. So we are not measuring time anymore in deep sleep. Desha, in deep sleep I can take you and then throw you in the middle of the road, you will aram se sleep. Nothing will happen because you have no sense of space. You have nothing can constrain you. In deep sleep we are actually pure Atman. The problem is we have the anubhava but not, we have the anubhava every day, we don't have the awareness. That's no good. So we have the anubhava of purity. Every one of us have touched the pure which we are struggling to know from all these shlokas. Every day we are touching. But we are ignorant. Anubhuti is not there, anubhava is there, awareness is not there. The anubhuti is the awareness. You should get into your prajna, no? That's not there in deep sleep. In deep sleep we are pure Atma. All these attributes will go in deep sleep. You look at any of them will go in deep sleep for a Vyakti. We are not made of parts because where is the parts? There is no parts. My karmendriya is switched off, my jnanendriya is switched off, my buddhi, manas, ahankara, chitta, everything is gone. That's why I get up and tell in past tense I had a good sleep. There's no way I can tell in present tense I had a good sleep because there's no faculty to even evaluate. No parts, nothing. That's what it is. It is compacted of gunas. Moment you bring gunas, not just sattva raja, basically you bring attributes. Moment you bring attributes, you have taken the Atman and put Anatman into it. You have now started conditioning it. That's the meaning. Right? It is impure. Whereas Atman is pure. It is impure for all reasons. It is constrained by space, time, moods, limitations, longevity, whatever you want to say. These are all properties of Anatman. It doesn't exist in all 3 periods of time and is subjected to modification. That's why in dream sleep, your karmendriyas are gone. In dream sleep you run, but you never use your legs and run. In dream you are running a race and getting a gold medal also, first prize. But you never use your legs because your legs are not there, it's gone. So it is subject to modification. Anything that is subject to modification, please understand it is actually Anatman, which means your mood is Anatman. I am happy at 11 o'clock, I am not happy at 12 o'clock. This mood is Anatman. So if you are trying to attach importance to it and taking it seriously is not a good idea. If you look at it from that perspective. Right? It's subject to modification. It is delimited by space, time and object. Desha kala parichina, not aparichina, parichina is constrained. So anything that is constrained by, so the entire worldly knowledge is constrained by space, time and object. All worldly knowledge will fit into it, your management, chemistry, everything. Because they are all changing all the time. 10 years back I was told don't take coconut oil because they wanted to sell all the palm oil from Malaysia. So they said coconut oil is bad. Now the entire, this pharmaceutical industry and the doctor nexus is like that. They will tell something every 10 years. The research all will be done like that. I mean, this is a very imperfect science. Research is all the kind of research, and I can, pull my collar and say I have 20 papers and all that I can say. At the end of the day, these are all very imperfect science for a pravrti we are doing. In a very narrow, domain we are trying to make a living, eke out a living out of it. That's the idea. It doesn't measure to your, ultimate, pristine, pure knowledge and all that we are talking about, which is characteristic of Atman. It is seen and later not seen. If something can be seen and not seen, it is called mithya, it is not satya. In desert you see in mirage, that is mithya. The dream is a mithya because when you got up, nothing happened. No? This is a very nice story. One very poor, I think, day-to-day worker or somebody, he is struggling for his living actually speaking. He went and saw Ramana Maharishi. And Ramana Maharishi saw him and then he gave him the highest Vedantic truth. Life is all like this and so on. So there are some very important disciples, very famous disciples. One of them asked Swamiji, Sir, Swamiji, Bhagavan is not able to eat one food and you are giving him Vedantic discourse. Twice or thrice he asked this question. Ramana Maharishi never talks. He communicates mostly in silence. After some time he may say a half a sentence and you can spend about 15 days thinking about that sentence. That is the greatness of his teaching. So first 3 days he just smiled, he didn't say anything. I mean he just... Then fourth day when he asked, he smiled at him and said, I can only tell what I know. His things are all very cryptic. Just said that and left it. Then this disciple, he's a very bright disciple actually. He pestered him. No, Swami Bhagavan, I am still not convinced of your answer and so on. Then he said something. He said, one person is sleeping. And he is a pauper. He doesn't know where his next food is, but he is sleeping. And he is dreaming to be the samrat of the country. So the dream is a very interesting dream. Lot of money and all that. I mean, he has his own dream of the biggest, richest person and all that going on. And then as the dream goes on, somebody is taking that wealth and running away. It's all part of the dream. Okay? Now, this is what Ramana Maharshi is telling answer to that question, which he asked for 5 days, he never answered. Finally, this is the answer he gives. So he says, so Ramana Maharshi asks, so this fellow in sleep is shouting, hey, he's running, catch him, catch him. Some people do it because when the dream gets very emotional, you are part of the dream also. So this beggar is shouting and shouting and shouting that somebody is taking the money, and because a lot of money is going. That's part of the dream anyway. So he's shouting, somebody is taking the money, running, catch him and catch him. So Ramana Maharshi asks, what will you do? You will go and catch the thief or you wake him up? What will you do? After that he didn't continue the conversation, he left it at that. He said, will you wake up that beggar and bring him to reality, or you will actually run and then find out where the thief is? That's all he answered. So we are all living in a dream. One way is to fuel the dream and then make you go through the dream even more. Other way is to violently shake and wake you up. So that's what it is. So all these are ways of shaking us from our deep slumber that we have a huge swapna in our life. Lot of things are mithya actually. It's very easy to fuel it and then keep quiet. A true guru will shake you. That's the charm of having a guru, kataksha. He will shake you, he will not give you answer, he will shake you and leave you. You will find your answer. That's all. So all these are like that. It is produced. In other words, it is an effect. It is a karya, not a karana. A golden necklace is a karya. Gold is the karana. The Vyakti that you see in this world is a karya. The karana is that Purushottama, Akshara Purusha. So anything which is a karya cannot be perfect, or the ultimate definition of perfection. The karana is perfection. So that is another definition. It is produced. It is an effect, not cause. Cause is perfection. Effect is an effect of a cause. Correct? It is known, not the knower. So moment is I know something, it's not perfect, because known is inferior, the knower is superior. These are all ideas which we'll have to really contemplate on. That's why gravity, if you know, you can find signs. If you ask who fell it, you are looking for a knower now, not the known. You are not looking for the jnana, you are looking for the jnaya. Jnata, this Triputi I talked about. There is this tripod. Subject, object, knowledge. Or seer, seen, and the process of seeing. So you can decide where you want to be in this tripod. So that's what. So all other than the subject are all inferior. They will all change. Over time it will change. Your inferences may be different. You will come with a different idea. All that can happen. It is ruled, not the ruler. The ruler is Atman. The ruled is Anatma. Right? And it is dependent. Whereas the Atman is independent. There is a nice sloka, sloka 7 or 8, which we will see, which will beautifully bring this idea. Anything that is, which can exist independent of everything else, it is an independent existence by itself, know that to be the truth. So these 12 rules, don't think these are Vedantic rules. You have a problem in your materialistic world, you have to take a decision. Apply these rules, you will have no regrets of what decision you took. You will become much better in taking decisions. You will have a spiritual background with which you can actually address the materialistic world very well. I am very convinced these are not rules just for Vedanta. Lot of our confusions can be resolved by knowing Nitya Anitya Vastu Vichara. What is this? We are saying what is Nitya and what is Anitya. Let us go after Nitya, not Anitya. We will give it up. We can develop a sense of discrimination. He says the first step is that to cut this tree. Otherwise this tree will grow. This tree you have no control where it will go. Yeah. So this Atma and Anatma difference is very, very important. Because if this difference is not even known, if we don't even understand that such a possibility exists, we get too involved in worldly matters. That's the worldly with which I started today's talk. You can get very involved in the worldly, which means you will be in the thick of this game. And you will keep on, there are too much of give and take to be sorted out. So by death you will want to come back. That is called Vasana. That is what is Vasana. What is Vasana? There are so many pending things here. Because I did half of things are to my satisfaction, 100 things are not to my satisfaction, I have to settle the account. And the soul, when it goes from here, it will take all these feelings that you had, that is called Vasana. You know, in Prashna Upanishad, when this Udhana Vayu is described, if you read it, it can be scary. If you have strength, you can read it. It actually says what it does. How it actually says how the system is shut off. Death is called shutting off this system. It's a very complex system. It's an engineering marvel. The best of engineering is inside here. You know that this uterus bag, in 6 hours, you know what size it shrinks from the size in which it had the full-blown child. Engineering cannot replicate that. Engineering cannot, they are not able to find a material closer to that. The elastic properties. God has created an extraordinary complex system here. I actually wonder, this curvature that you have in your leg, if this curvature reduces by, I'm told, I asked somebody, if this curvature reduces by 1 millimeter, you will fall, you cannot stand. Every aspect of God's creation is like that. This curvature in your leg that we have, if that reduces by 1 millimeter, you will fall. How did I find? My nephew had a problem. Only then I found out. So this is a very complex system. So death means shutting off the system. It's like switching off a factory. If you have to switch off a factory, there are many things that are switch off. There's some liquid is going, there are prana, apana, so many systems are there. There is a liquid system, there is a waste disposal system, so many things are there. Na? So in Prashna Upanishad, when it describes of the Udana Vayu, it actually says what is the order in which it will be shut up. Which system will be shut down first. So it tells 2 hours, 3 hours before death how the winding of operations start. Actually, it says Agni will go first. That's, Agni will go last. There is an order. First something will go. Doctors exactly do that. They say, are you, moving your... First they touch and see how cold or how warm you are. All those I found a parallel in the, Prashna Upanishad. So we have, so many... So when it goes, why I am saying this is, when we go... In Prashna Upanishad says, Udana Vayu picks up all these pending tasks. We have been so involved in this world. So we cannot, wind up the account. We will wind up the account when you become detached. When you become attached, you cannot wind up the account. The account still has entries. It's a going concern. Year end you have to post some, retained earnings plus or minus something, transfer it to the balance sheet, come again tomorrow. From 31st March you have to go to 1st April anyway. That is exactly what it is. So all that is being described there. It takes all these and preserves it and brings it back. The whole thing is described both in Chandogya Upanishad and in Prashna Upanishad. There is a fair amount of discussion. So all that will happen. That is why the tree is growing. So if the tree is fallen, if you think, the tree has not fallen, it has compacted itself into a seed. That is called Karana Sharira. Then it will pop up again. That's why Abrahma Bonan Lokaha Punaravartinorjuna. That's what he said. All people will come because we have pending works to be completed. And that is called Sanchita Karma. Only when that karma empties, no more pending work, now you can go. It's called Videha Mukti. How do you get that? If you get that, you need that Atman and Anatman Viveka. Only then this going concern will stop. Otherwise this entry will never stop. There is always a credit entry and a debit entry. We have to sort it out. So we will increase the number of janmas to sort out all these, and it's a second sloka in Veka Chudamani says only that. Out of 580 slokas, the second sloka. I just look here. Atmanat avivechanam swa anubhavaha brahmatma samstitihi muktoho na shata janma koti. Shata janma koti is 10 power 9 janmas. Koti is 10 power 7. Shata is 10 power 2. I just found, Ayashankara says approximately you need 10 power 9 janmas. And a janma has a design lifestyle of 100 years. So 10 power 11. 10 power 11 human years. We are competing with Brahma's daytime. Nearly. That's the kind of thing he is talking about. Punyehi vina na labhyate. So we need the grace of the Lord. The grace of the Lord comes through this satsanga. It doesn't come out of the blue. That's the greatest value of this satsanga. The grace of the Lord expresses through the satsanga. It sparks some imagination we keep thinking about, and it's a slow process in which we will keep going. So that's what it is saying. Third sloka. Now, having described this tree in all its beauty and grandeur, then he says, Na rupam asya iha, na rupam asya iha, tata upalabhyate, na antaha, na cha adihi, na cha sampratishta. Ashwattam yenam suviruda moolam asanga shastrena dridena chitva. It continues the next sloka, but this is more important. So now what he says is exactly what you will see. Go and see the Dodda Alamara. Go and see the botanical tree in botanical gardens, banyan tree in Calcutta botanical garden. You will not find which is the beginning, which is the end. When you are so sprawling, when you have set up a shop and run it so large, right? That is what it is saying. You don't know. In fact, honestly, I tell you, when I went and saw in Anuradhapura that Ashwatha Vruksha, I could not find out what is the shape of it. It is so sprawling. How do we make a shape? Na rupamasya iha. You can't find its shape because it is so sprawling. You have lost sense of how to comprehend it, right? Upalabhyate, you won't. Tata upalabhyate, you won't get it. Na antaha na adi. Honestly, I didn't know what was the first trunk. They also didn't know. Who lived for 2600 years? Nobody knew. I mean, of course, somebody can do some botanical, I mean, some scientific carbon dating, something, take a chip, all that. So you need effort. Here also, if you put effort, maybe you will get to know. On the face of it, you don't know the beginning, you don't know the ending, you don't even know how it is spreading. It is so sprawling. He says, it's gone out of hands. That's what he's saying. Therefore, suviruda moolam, you have to cut it with the bottommost root. Viruda moolam, go to the very bottom of this tree root and cut it. Cut the umbilical cord, otherwise it will keep on growing. Right? Suviruda moolam, enam ashwatam, this tree which I have described, suviruda moolam. And how do you cut it? What is that, axle that you have? He says that is called the axe of detachment. So he says the only axe which is sharp enough to cut this suviruda moolam is ashanga shastra. That axe must be one made of detachment. That's the only way you can cut. Otherwise, if you get attached, you are actually pouring manure into it. If you remember, this is the last shloka in chapter 4. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Look at the last shloka in that chapter. What does it say? It says, Tasmat, therefore, all the discussions went before. Tasmat, Ajnana Sambhutam Hritastam Jnana Asina Atmanaha Chitva Yenam Samshayam Yogam Atishto Tishta Bharata. What he is saying is, he is saying, Ajnana Sambhutam. This is full of ignorance. Ajnana Sambhutam. Right? And Christam, it is in your heart, it is all deluding you. You have a fancy defining framework of what is life and what is success. Hridastam ajnana sambhutam samshayam, doubt. That doubt which is very much, actually we are all very doubting characters. Don't take it otherwise. You know what is the proof of this particular statement I am making? The last thing that we'll do is we'll believe in God. And we'll say I am a very religious person and all that. Believe in God is not easy. You will say I will put coconut, but then you'll have, that's what Draupadi did. The Draupadi story is actually saying that. Don't understand the story from simple, logical analytic. What is she conveying there? What is Gajendra Moksha is conveying? Don't ask how can a Gajendra talk and all that. Don't get into all those, because you'll never learn anything in Indian wisdom if you go like that. These stories are all very suggestive stories. You have to go 10 steps behind and look at the story and say, what is this story saying? All these stories are saying what? It's saying you develop very deep faith in God, notion of God, you will get dhairya. You will face any eventuality that will come. We are on an average not like. The more we are educated, we are actually more doubting. That is actually the bane of modern education. Honestly, I am telling you. The more we are educated, we are very doubtful. I was in US between 1999 and 2000. I was there on Y2K, the so-called Y2K, 1st of January 2000. It was really a great fun for me to see what is happening. I first time understood how, if you have no belief, serious belief in God, how much, problem you will inflict on yourself. You know what happened? They thought on 1st of January or 31st December night, they will be plunging in dark. So they went and bought, I couldn't fill gas for my car. For 1 week I didn't take the car because they were so desperate, and this gas supply all got exhausted. Every supermarket announced no return policy. They all bought a generator, a diesel generator. Why are you doing all that? You think you had to solve your problem. If an iota of belief you had, God is there to help me, half the generator sale would have come down. More we are educated, we are very doubtful. So he said that samshayam, where is it? Hridastam. It is deep in your heart. Right? And it is coming out of ajnana, because you have avidya, you don't have vidya. You have a certain knowledge which is imperfect. So ajnana sambhutam samshayam hridastam chitva enam samshayam chitva. How do you cut it? Chit is to cut, na? How do you cut it? Jnana asina. Take a big sword called knowledge. So that is what he said. Having cut it, he says, Yogo atishto atishta. Yogam atishta. Get into yoga. Know this pure knowledge. That's what he said in chapter 4. Same thing he is saying here. After 9 chapters, he is saying it differently. Ashanga shastrena suviruda moolam. Dridena chittva. Don't leave it. With all, otherwise it is like Parthenium. It will come again. You eradicate it completely. Yeah. In fact, this is all in Kathopan. That's the charm of Bhagavad Gita. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you don't have to read many of the same Urdhva Mula Ato Shaka is there in Kathopanishad. You just see that. He says Urdhva Mulaha Avaksha Shaka. Ava is down. Avantare means down. Ava Shakaha Yesho Ashwattaha Sanatanaha. Kathopanishad says the same thing. It has borrowed the idea only from there. Sanatana, this is very old. This is Ashwatha Vruksha, and its roots are there. It is spreading down. Only thing is, it went into something else. It says the ultimate root of that is that God. If you understand it, you will cut this and get back there. It took a different route to explain that, but the concept is the same. It said, Tat eva shukram, tat brahma, tat eva amritam uchyate. That root, it is talking about the starting part of the root. The starting part of the root is all brightness, it is Brahman, it is Amritam and all that. Tasmin lokaha shitaha sarve. All this world, everything is residing in that. It is coming, that God particle spreading. So it is taking a different route to explain it. Sarvam tatu na anyati na anyaha iti kaschana. There is nothing else other than that. This root, the ultimate root for us is there. It is describing, rather than describing the tree, in this shloka it is describing the root. Whereas what we are saying is we are describing the tree. But the concept is the same. In Mahabharata there are some nice references. This is from Ashwaparva in Mahabharata. Same idea, so beautifully written in this Mahabharata. Avyakta moola prabhavastasyaiva anugraho sthitaha. In fact, this Moola is Abhyakta. You are not able to see. It started from somewhere. You saw it only after the shoots started coming. You didn't. Many of the plants are like that. We didn't know. Suddenly it sprouted. Only then we know. You are only inferring. Because it is sprouting, there must be a root and something is coming. So it's like that. The samsara has started. By being in the pravriti, we infer, oh okay, now the roots are set. We are all growing. That's what it is. He says, Buddhi skandamayaha chaiva indriyas kotaraha. In fact, it takes a very figurative description of what is buddhi. The indriyas are the trunks. That's what it says. Each one of them is explained like that. Mahabhuta vishakascha. All the pancha bhutas are the great branches of this tree, with which it is actually growing. Vishayehi patravamstata. Again, it recognizes leaf is the most important thing for the tree. So the Vishaya, the world of Vishayas that we start consuming are the tree or the leaves of this tree. So they have taken a very figurative thing there. Dharma adharma sapushpascha. What are these flowers? The flowers are all the dharma and the adharma that you engaged in. That gives you pala. The flower becomes fruit, na? So, a flower which is a dharma variety gives you a fruit which is dharma. A flower which is a adharma variety will give you a fruit which is adharma. So, the flower becomes the fruit. So, it is going little biologically. Little bit of botany it is showing us. Flower only will become a fruit and so on. So, he says, Ajivya sarva bhutanam brahma vrikshaha sanatana. This word brahma vanam. Etad brahma vanam chaiva brahma vrikshasya tasya tad. This word brahma vana and brahma vriksha are greatly described in Rig Veda. It's a deep philosophical idea. This world is what? If God is pervaded into the world, if each tree is called a vriksha, that vriksha must be Brahma vriksha. And this must be a Brahmavana. It is the God which is pervaded into everything. So all these are trees which make up a dense forest. And the forest is also Brahman. And the tree is also Brahman. It's a deep philosophical truth. That you see in several references in Rig Veda actually. So that's what he says. Etad brahmavanam chaiva brahma vrikshasya tasya tat. After all, this forest of Brahman in which these trees are his, sprouting in its own way. Right? Etad chitva, they want to be doubly sure. They say cut it, chitva is cutting, bitva is Open the trunk, otherwise sometimes it will grow. See, if you leave the trunk, sometimes it will start growing. So in Mahabharata they use the word chitvacha, bidvacha. Bidva is to tear open axially. Chitva is just cutting. So it says, etat chitvacha bidvacha jnanena parama asina. This great ultimate sword called jnana. That's what the 4th chapter also used, jnana asina. Jnanena paramasina taschatmarit atmaritim prapya. Through that, get this atmarati, that joy that you have to get, you can get out of that. Tasman nivartate punah. You will not come back. This birth and death, you will come out of it. So the only way is to cut the samsara vriksha with the root, otherwise it will grow. Mahabharata goes one step and says, don't leave it, you also open the trunk. Sometimes they may grow. So that kind of thing that they are talking about. Yeah. So what is this strong, how do you develop these acts of detachment? There's the next question. In fact, Chatusutri, I didn't get into the future sentences. The future sentences go here, because this is a preamble for Brahma Sutra actually. So he says, Nitya, he says 4 conditions. There are 4 things, if you do, this axe becomes very sharp. This Asanga Shastra will become really sharp. And what are those? He says, Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. First to develop, that's why Atman and Anatman, I put those properties. He says, this axe will get sharper if you know the difference between Nitya and Anitya Vastu. You should have that sense of discrimination. In fact, very strikingly, large amount of our energy today is being used for Anitya Vastu, not Nitya Vastu. Many things that we do are perish. And the top of the list is the body. We are so much worried. I am not saying do udasina of the body. I am not at all coming to that conclusion. But the amount of effort we put to maintain this body, which is anyway going to cheat you one day and go. Whatever you do. It is the biggest challenge open to science. Let science solve this problem. The body will, the Purusha will escape. Science cannot catch Purusha. See, Brahma, Swami Shivananda was actually a doctor. He was in Malaysia. He was actually a doctor. Apparently, the great Swami Shivananda in Rishikesh, one sadhu came, and then the sadhu asked him, when he was the doctor, you have so many gadgets. Can you show me my soul through your gadget? You have X-ray, brain, in everything you are catching. Can you show me my soul? I think this particular sadhu who had a conversation dramatically opened his... See, people need that spark. When the Bhagavad Kripa is there, it will happen. It is just a spark. Guru is only a concept. Sometimes it is not even a Vyakti. It's a concept. Once it happens, that's it. He gave up everything apparently, and then he walked to the airport. And the airport he asked, he said, I don't know, I have nothing, I don't know anything. He said, I want to go to India. One of the airport employee, apparently, this is what I read, I read somewhere. One of the airport employee recognized him to be the doctor. He had his treatment or something. He said, no, I am no one. He has given up everything. That's why he says, I have no linga, no sharira, no passport. He said, I have no passport, nothing. His entire wealth, everything he has given up. He had a calling. He went to Rishikesh. With that kind of a calling. So that preparation, how does it happen? Nitya and Anitya Vastu Viveka, we have to develop slowly. What is permanent, what is temporary? And do we have the courage to give up things which are temporary? We can keep talking about it for a few janmas and then we'll see what to do. But that's a process. But we have to start somewhere, na? We have to start this process. We cannot, it doesn't happen just like that. So Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha, condition 1. Condition 2. Iha Amutra Boga Viragaha. This desire to have this boga, pleasure. Iha, here, Amutra, after the soul goes, it goes to Swarga. That's what the Karma Kanda is all about. That's why Yasya Chandamsi Parnaha, Parnani. Karma Kanda gives you Boga, Iha and Amutra. So Shankara says that will not give you not sharp, it will blunt your axe. So Iha Amutra Boga Viragaha. Then third condition. Shama Damadi. The Adi means Etel. Shama Dama Etel. Shama Damadi Sadhana Sampad. There are Shat There are 6 sadhana sampats. He says, you do that sadhana. Develop that wisdom, nitya anitya vastu viveka. Then iha mutra bhoga viragaha. Then you develop sadhana, shamadamadi sadhana sampat. That is the real sampat. You develop that with you. Then mumukshutva. This unending desire to liberate. I don't want to be conditioned by worldly things. Can I get liberation? That is mumukshutva. He says, if you have all the 4, then this axe is really razor. One touch, the tree will go. Suviruda mulam ashanga shastrena dridena chitva bitva cha bhavati. Everything will happen. You can tear it off, cut it axially and then throw them out. So these are the 4 he is talking about. The Shamadama are 6 of them. Shamaha, Damaha, Uparatihi, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhanam. So those are the 6. In the next slide I have put those 6. So Dama is the control of the sensory organs. Moment you talk ill of me, you should see the way the flowery language comes out of me. The worst vocabulary I can actually put back on you and then take the hell out of you. Or you do something, I just slap. These are all using the sensory organs. He says developing sense of your ability to hold on. Let anything happen. Can you hold on? That is Dhamma, control of the sensory organs. Shamaha is now you can have 2 steps. See, I have really gone through some of these very personally. I started fasting. First 1 year, my fasting is all the time thinking about food. So I have not fasted, honestly. That is, I had Dhamma, I didn't have Shama. It's not about fasting. Fasting is a good way to start. But then when you fast, my daughter and my wife eat and then I think about it all the time. After 12 years, today I have mastered that part. That little part I have mastered now. Food is not giving me any kind of, any kind of temptation whatsoever. I'm just in a lighter when I am saying. So what I am saying, Shama is, it is about mind also, not just action. The precursor for the action is mind. So controlling action is one level. Controlling the mind is even superior. It's next level. So that's Shama. It's a mind control. Feeling. So ahimsa can be in thought. That is our ultimate definition of ahimsa. Ahimsa can be at the thought level. Who said it should be only at physical level? At a thought level. So go to that level of thinness. That is Dhamma. Then Uparatihi. Upa is closer. Upanayanam. They say the word used. Nayanam is leading. This thread ceremony is called Upanayana. The word Upa is a prefix in Sanskrit. Upa means closer. Apa means away. Apanayanam means duri karoto. Take him away. Upanayanam means bring him closer. So Upa is a visarga which means closer. So it says Uparati. You take it close to the plane of being reveling all the time. Atmarati. Rata. Rata is, they say Rati. Rati, Manmata's wife, Rati is one who enjoys. Here you go closer to that pinnacle of enjoyment which is God. That is all contained in this word Uparati. Actually. Uparatihi. Developing an affinity to divinity. Titiksha. Visa matra sparsast kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkataha. In chapter 2, 14 sloka. Right? That is called Titiksha. Sa Titiksha. In fact, Ayashankara also gives a nice definition of Titiksha. It says, Sahanam sarva dukkanam. He never said Sahanam sarva santoshasya vishayanam. We are able to tolerate santosha. We are not able to tolerate dukkha. Sukha, no problem. Dukkha only we have a problem. That's why you use only that word. If you say, sir, I am able to tolerate sukha, you don't have titiksha. If you tolerate dukkha, you have titiksha. That's why you use sahanam sarva dukkhanam. And then he said, apratikara purvakam. Without anybody's support. Moment you are upset, I should not come and then help you and then counsel you. That means you are at a LKG of titiksha. You should be able to take it. Whatever things come to me, can I take it? Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam. We get into this thought, no? Chinta vilapana. It scatters. Our mind scatters all over the world. Oh, why did it happen to me? I was all right. This person was bad. He is doing well. I have done only good things. And our mind really goes on a highway when dukkha happens. So his definition is a person who is able to accommodate, it's not tolerate, because I don't want to use the word tolerate, accommodate dukkha without any external support, without making the mind wandering and loitering all over the place thinking about it. That's the definition of titiksha. It's a nice definition of titiksha, which is what matra sparsasta kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkataha agama paino anityaha tam titiksha swabharata is what he said in chapter 2. That is titiksha. Then shraddha. As I told you, shraddha is all not easy. As a word we can understand. Shraddha is what must be reminded of by, we read Gajendra Moksha, Draupadi, Svastraparna. They are all deep principles to point to us what can happen if you have Shraddha. People can laugh at you, that's their problem. It is a huge positive force within, which will make you face any adversities in life. Today we are not equipped for facing any adversities in life. In fact, we can't even teach any of those. We can at best put 2-3 counselors in the campus. We cannot teach you how to handle adversities in life, because we first tell you foolishly, no adversities will happen, only good things will happen. This is where we start. The whole problem itself is there. We tell only good things can happen, no bad things will happen. So that's not possible. Shraddha comes, if you have Shraddha, there will be a phenomenal amount of inner strength which will help you do anything in life. I think we need to experience and then find it in our own way with the grace of the Lord. Samadhanam. This manas should not be, it should be nischala. It should not be chanchala. Mana has some, in fact, many of the purohits, when they actually come home, do some rituals and so on, many of the mantras, they say, are all great mantras, if at all we know. When they do Ashirvada, they say, Manaha Samadhiyatam. It's a great Ashirvada. They say, I wish your mind is not chanchala. Don't you think it's a good wish? We don't even know that we are all talking when he is uttering some mantras, because we have no idea what he is saying. We don't even know why, they are great mantras. So one of my friend got his daughter married, second daughter married. I went for the marriage in Chennai. He has given me a 100-page book, 140-page book. He has written about Shraddha, Vivaha. Wonderful. He's actually a Chartered Accountant. He's a big management consultant. He's my Sanskrit friend. Beautifully, he has written 140 books, 140 pages on Vivaham, and that is what he gave to all the people. He has a printing press. He printed some 5,000 copies and just gave it to everyone. I read some. I didn't know some of those mantras. They're absolutely wonderful. So, Samadhanam is, can we keep this mind in Nischalata? That is what Samadhanam is. So the next set of shlokas is forcing us into this division. Say, look at this. Our training, whether a chartered accountant, whether you're a doctor, whether you are a management student or a teacher or whatever you do, our training is only on the how part. The right side is not part of our training at all. If you want the right side, we have to read Vedanta. Our knowledge, the other knowledge that we use is all about how. How will further our understanding of materialistic knowledge. How is this done? How one can improve it? Are all actually in the world of Anatma. Actually, they are all in the domain of Anatma, actually speaking. Correct? Will fetch us Abhyudaya, not Nishreyas. It will get you more material prosperity. Now, with material prosperity, you can be the most defeated person in the world. You have a 10-digit balance and then you are the most defeated person in the world. And 1 in 3 of such people are like that. I am not very pessimistic. I am telling you the reality. If you have only Abhyudaya, if you don't have Nishreyas, finished. That's why first sentence in Bhagavad Gita, Bhashya by Adi Shankaracharya, Dvivido Vedo Dharmaha Uktaha Dvidaha Abhyudayaha Nishreyas Pravritti Lakshanaha Nivritti Lakshanaha Jagataha Sthiti Karanam Praninam Sakshat Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Hetugo. It's how he starts Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. He says if you don't have these two finished, you can't have one and not other. You should have both. Whereas how will get you a lot of Abhyudaya. But don't stop with it. Spend your time on the who part of it. Who is a very great thing. We'll talk about it in the next set of slokas next week when we go along. Promotes the separation between I and others. Whereas if you talk about who, it will shrink the separation. It will really bring you closer. Makes us more analytical oriented in life. That will make us more reflective. The who question is a very deep question. It's not a very simple question. And who question is something which each one of us have to answer. Unlike the how you can have a book and a lecture and see, all these we are doing are only facilitating. At the end of the day, I have to get convinced of Atman and Anatman. It's not because I told. You have to reflect on the idea. It has to make some meaning to you. It may happen now, but if there is a grace of the Lord, or it may happen much later. You have a grace of the Guru and the Lord. It can happen. On the who part of it is a personal experience. It's not I can transfer my experience to you. It's a swa anubhava. So this is we can know the outside world, whereas if you inquire more and more who of it, you will begin to tread into the world inside. These are a few representative slokas are there, which we will see in the next class. I think we will 7:30, 7:31 we will stop here. Next class we will continue this. Thank you.